Me. Welcome to another market overview, hosted every Wednesday, for y'all with my boy Jack. What's good, bro? How are you doing today?
Good, bro. Just ready to serve, give them value, bro. It's good.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Guys, if you don't know me, my name is Giovanni Munoz. I am 25 years old. I have now been trading for the last 5 years. And gratefully been able to, get connected with people like Jack and, see their journey, but as well, shout out to Jack. He has now been funded a total of 1.3 mil, right? As well, he also just got funded another $50,000 today, bro. So, congratulations, brother. Just another one in the books, bro. Let's get it. But rich guy over here, right? Um, yeah, you know, if you're on this call, maybe you're someone that's brand new coming into Powerhouse University, or maybe you're a grandfather partner in already. Um, quote of the year, rich guy, right? Absolutely. But he got to take me out to lunch when I'm back in AZ for sure. But
Bro, you
it's
still never
a
took me out.
like I said,
You're fake, bro.
um, nah, we'll get to it, bro. I got you. But we'll get into it more likely today when it comes to the charts. And as I was going to the poll, let me just double check because earlier, everyone wanted me to go over the basics when it came to trading. So let's see where we ended up as. So results. It looks like 68%, 88% of people want to talk over basics. We only had a small 15% wanting to do why I sold US 30, and then a smaller side mindset and professional. So what I can do for y'all today is I will break it down to the T, when it comes to trading and why trading, right? When I got started in trading, guys, I'm no one special. I got started at the age of 19. When I got presented this opportunity, and when we founded Powerhouse, this was a prayer answered for me, right? Be honest, guys, I went to college. Um, didn't do as good as I should have. I got educational, um, pretty much probation, education probation, and pretty much I couldn't go to school for a semester. And with that semester, I couldn't go to school. This opportunity came into fruition. Shout out to our founder, Junior Munoz, for giving me this opportunity. And ever since we've been doing this 6 years, but right when I got started, we didn't have the foundation when it came to trading. We didn't have the understanding of what trading was or how to become a professional trader. And if you're in Powerhouse University, I first and foremost want to set the expectation, right? Trading isn't just a way of making money, right? Trading isn't just maybe clicking buttons, but trading is a professionalism, right? It's a skill set, right? This is something that can pay you up to 6 to 7 figures, right? You have professional, athletes, right? You got professional singers, right? All the people that are professionals that play their role at the high prestige spots. These are, your overproducers. These are people that put in time after time into mastering their craft, right? Your Conor McGregor's, your Mayweather's, right? Your Michael Jordans, right? These are the people that make big money. And just to be honest, guys, if you didn't know, obviously, 1 or 2% of the world is going to be rich, right? The question is what people come into proclaiming is like, why is it going to be me? Why do I have to become the 1%, right? Or there has to be another way. And excuse me, just to keep it real with y'all, in any industry, the top producer is the top 1 to 2%. You have to be the best in your space to produce. So the expectations that I want to set with y'all today, number one, is the number one thing I can guarantee you when it comes to trading is that you will lose, right? Probably not what you wanted to hear, right? But we keep it real and we keep it very we set the expectations right, but because there's a plan behind this, right? So what do I mean? Um, there's a plan behind this, right? Well, you have to understand trading is like a language, but instead of speaking the language from your mouth, you're reading the language with your eyes, right? So we're able to understand the language of trading, right, through the understanding of the terminologies, right? So first and foremost, when you're getting started, you want to remove all these speculations, the maybe give into or these YouTube speculations where you can make $100,000 in a month. Let's get that out of the picture. Is it possible? Yeah, it is, right? But your first month, let's keep it real, right? Doctors go to school for almost 6 years to gain this professional that can pay them up to six figures a year after 6 years, right? And you think because you got connected to a broker, right, you can make six figures your first month with $100. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's just not the right route to take. And that was me, right? When I got started in this, guys, I actually thought I was gonna be a multimillionaire within my first couple months. I was like, yo, I found it. I'm gonna be rich. I quit my job my third month into the business. Right? I remember looking at my phone. I was up like $300 on a trade. My boss told me to do something, and I was like, you know what? Like, no, I quit. Um, and I went through journeys, guys, that I think this is one thing that um no one can take away from me. And there's no amount of money that I've invested that I wouldn't say is worth it, right? And that's experience, right? When you start coming into the trading world, you have to start understanding and you have to persevere that you will have roadblocks, right? You will have a roadblocks, right? You will have trials and tribulations, right? There will be reasons on why you probably want to quit. You probably will feel like you don't understand anything yet and you're still getting confused, right? But or you might lose thousands and thousands of dollars. I lost $19,000 my first year of trading because I didn't have the right guidance, right? But guess what? It wasn't a loss, it was a lesson for me. That was a $19,000 investment, and I could have been like everyone else. Damn, I lost $19,000. This doesn't work. I'm not gonna do this no more. Or what I did instead, I was like, yo, I'm $19,000 deep in this. I gotta make this work, right? I have to make this work, right? So when it comes to trading, guys, for me, I trade very simple and very basic, right? I don't like overcomplicating trading, guys. Like I said, I was your B minus C plus honor roll. The founder of Powerhouse. I actually used to cheat off of him in our history class, right? So like I'm not the this most intelligent person. I'm not the person that knows it all, right? So what I understood what worked for me, I don't want to necessarily know exactly why everything happens. I just want to be able to know when to get in and when to get out, how much to risk and how much to make. That's all I wanted to know. If I can make money, I'm with it, right? And that's exactly what we did when we found levels in smart money, right? And we have not just been able to be mentored by people, and I think that's the beautiful thing within Powerhouse, guys. I mean, I'm gonna dive into the markets right after. But the beautiful thing about Powerhouse is we understand that there's levels to this, right? And we understand that we are nowhere near the levels of our mentors. And what we do, especially here within our Powerhouse community, is we keep our personal mentors, Mike Sotero, Mike Navarrete, Trade House, very, very closely, because we understand what proximity can do, right? Proximity can do big things. Your Darwin Lopez's. So what we're here to do is just to cut that learning curve for y'all guys. So for me right now, what I'm gonna really get into is kind of some of the basics I was going over yesterday in the Dallas grind session. And it's really understanding the concept when it comes to trading. Right? A lot of y'all look at this market and you're like, yo, this looks like a heartbeat monitor. And I completely understand, right? When I saw this, I didn't know what I was looking at. I was like, yo, this looks confusing, right? I'm never gonna understand this. Like, do I have to learn math? Like, you know, it was like all these questions came to my head. It's like, what? Like, I don't know. And I came to a point. Let me go look at the chat, real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Um, only 19. Shout out to Brian. We got one of our educators on here. Brian Velez is someone y'all need to tap in every single morning with. This man goes on live, not just on YouTube. His Instagram, and pretty much for the Spanish market, but also for Powerhouse on a daily basis, guys. So make sure y'all plug in with him. He's someone that has mentored me. And that's the beautiful. Like I said, there's multiple people within Powerhouse where, um, you just understand there's levels to this, and he has around a decade over years of experience, and shout out Brian, for even being on this call. But let's get straight to it, right? So for me, guys, when it comes to trading, the main priority that I have want people to understand is like I don't want you taking your own trades yet, right? The whole concept of us creating this free community is to make y'all money, but I want y'all to understand that there's expectations behind it, right? So this is a learning process for some of y'all, and for some of y'all, you're already maybe in 6 months, a year in, and this is just an enhancement, right? But there's one thing you can never get away, and it's the basics, right? So when it comes to the market, the number one thing I think people should worry about is pretty much market structure. Market structure is the biggest thing what it comes for, I think, for a new person. And the reason why I believe it's so important is because you're able to identify the trend, right? The trend is your friend, right? I don't like trading against the what did I just do? Give me a second. Cool. Right. I don't like trading against the trend. So if the market's going up, it's going bullish, I want to trade follow that trend. Right. So when it comes to the trend, right, there's gonna be a couple of definitions that you're gonna be using. For a bullish trend, right, you're gonna be using, and make sure you have your journal out, right? Because none of this is, I would highly recommend taking this information serious. A higher high, right? And a higher low, right? So when it's a bullish trend, you're gonna have higher highs and higher lows. And when you're on a bearish trend, right, you're gonna look for lower lows and lower highs, right? So how does this work, Gio? I gotcha, right? So when it comes to structure, right? I think everyone should start with structure when it comes to the market. I go from time frames. So when it goes to time frames, obviously, guys, you can see right here, you can change the time zones. And pretty much how it works is each candle, which is each rectangle that you're seeing, is worth an exact time. It can be worth a week, it can be worth a day, a 4 hour, and you can change that. But I go through time frames, right, from daily, right, 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 5 minutes, right? I want to confirm the overall trend of the market. What is the trend on the bigger time frames? What's the trend on the smaller time frames, right? And that's how I execute my plays. So what's this bullish trend? So how the markets work is right here, you would have your high. Once we push above, this is called your higher high, right? And as long as this previous move Boom, boom, boom. Let's change this real quick. Right, this previous move right here, when we create a new high, right, doesn't close before our previous high. It's considered a higher low, right? So, right, boom, a higher low. So every time we see a break of structure, and a break of structure is a candle closure. I don't mean by wicks, but candle closure to the upside. I mean close previous highs. That is now a new higher high. As well, like I said, as long as we don't break previous higher lows, right? This is still considered a higher low, right? So as we're proceeding in the market and as we're identifying, trend of the market from the bigger time frames to the smaller time frames, right? You're gonna hit this objective where it's gonna look like this, right? You're gonna get your higher high and higher low. Now, chat, if market pushes up to new highs, right? To new highs and breaks below previous higher low, are we still bullish or are we bearish now? Tell me in the chat, guys. Are we still bullish or are we still bearish? Bearish, absolutely. Right? Why? The reason why we turn bearish, right, is because we broke previous higher lows, right? So what that does, it builds the shift within the market. So you would have your lower low right here, and as long as this doesn't break previous highs, right, you're now seeing a lower high, right? And this is an easy way to understand the market's next move. And let me kind of furthermore explain, right? I trade very simple, right? I trade the trend of the market and I like trading um continuations, right? The last thing that I even caught myself doing this, right, is you never want to trade when the market is consolidating, right? If the market's going sideways, let it do its thing, right? You can put yourself in positions where the market will, just play in that area for a minute, and not break out, right? And maybe look something like this, maybe, just teasing you. Looks like it breaks above, but then comes back, right? I tend to avoid these situations at all times because you just want to ride the trend, right? So let's see this on real times, right? So let me kind of explain to y'all my perspective when we came to gold, and why I sold gold. So overall, right, guys, let's do this together, right? Shout out to y'all. We got 64 people on the call. Continue sending this out, making sure that we have everybody that is in the group chats on here. We got 200 people, so by the end of this call, let's get this call to 100 people. But guys, right, let me sit down with y'all on the daily, right? Are we bearish or bullish? Right, we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, and then have we closed previous highs, guys? Do y'all think we closed previous highs? Type of one if you think this right here is considered a higher high. So I tricked y'all. No, it's not. Right? It's not really an equal high, but maybe it is, right? You got this wick right here. But no, right? We didn't see a candle closure, right? We didn't see this close above and hold, right? So what the market did, it's still, well, technically, right? We're still bullish on the daily time frame, right? I got y'all there, right? We didn't create a new high, right? But we haven't created new lows, right? Because we haven't closed below previous higher low. And you see how easy it is to be able to overlook that, right? It's so easy. So this is why, you want to break it down piece by piece, right? Now we go to the 4 hour. Now when we go to the 4 hour, higher high, higher low, higher high. Let me break this to like 10. Cool. Um, higher low, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high. Did we break previous higher lows, guys? We did, right? So now the 4 hour is bearish, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? Lower low, right? And then we had a big movement to the upside, right? And the reason why this moved up to the upside, we wanted to liquidate these buyers, I mean, these sellers right here, right? If you trade support and resistance trend lines, right, you want to understand that the banks are, the big institutions are going to always move the market where it hurts the masses, right? So this was intentional. So technically right now, we created new lows, then we went to new highs, right? This was new lower low. This was a beginning of a new high, but then we recently closed previous lows and we had all this liquidity just sitting right there below it. So it built confidence on my end that the market was going to continue going lower, right? It was bearish tendencies, market's not pushing as much, right? As we go to the 2 hour, 1 hour, right? Now we break it down, right? Okay, this was our higher high, higher low. Did we break above? Nope. Lower low. So this right here was our last higher low, right? Boom, lower low. This is your new low, lower high. And I'm not gonna mark them all because it's gonna take forever. Low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So hypothetically, guys, and I'm just gonna mark them up just to show y'all real quick, right? And lower high, right? Lower low. After a lower high, can someone tell me what's usually next? After a lower high, what's usually next, guys? A lower low. Literally, right? Very simple. So we go to 30-minute, right? And we get this lower low, lower high, right? And then we created new lows. So now this is where I go to the smaller time frames and I start dissecting, right? So what I saw, I was like, well, in the 5 minutes we had bullish tendencies, right? We had a low, and then this was our lower high, but then we created new highs, higher high, higher low, right? And then right here, right, we tried to create, so just to show y'all, right, this was our lower low, lower high. This wasn't a lower low. New highs are created, higher low, right? And no new highs are created here. And then a low was created. So now, it's just so textbook. Now you go to the 5 minutes and you're like, okay, I'm looking for bearish tendencies, right? Let me just look at the last buying opportunity, right? And I trade very simple. I trade consolidation, right? Break a structure, change a character, retest, buy, right? So what I saw here, I was like, look, this was our last high. This was the last tendency we could have continue buying. You have your consolidation, break a structure, change a character. I was like, okay, perfect, right? We broke below, stop loss got hit. That's what I wanted to see. We grabbed the high to the low, right, to the 618 area, and you literally get that tapped into our zone. Boom, absolute snipe. You could have even re-entered consolidation, break a structure, change a character, re-entry, boom, right? And this market tanked and is continued to tank as we speak right now, right? This is a and I didn't hold this long, but this is a almost 1,000 pip move, right? That the market just made, right? So, that's as easy as it gets when it comes to structure. But the main thing you want to focus on, if you're brand new, you just got started, is you want to go into these markets and identify this, right? Start identifying, start looking for it, right? Start making your symbols to know where it's at. Because the reason why people lose in trading, it's not because they don't know how to trade most of the time. It's because they make small little mistakes into the market that causes a snowball effect to bigger losses, right? But goddamn, like look at her go. As well, US 30. It was the same thing for US 30. Like, oh my gosh, look at her go. Like we called these two in the chats today. So if you took that, congratulations, we made some money together. But let's see what we can see right now. Right, gold. I'm not looking for anything right now. If I would want to see anything, it would be down here. So I'm personally chilling. I know Junior had a markup. U.S. oil is in my buy zone, I believe. It is, right? But honestly, I don't like how market's moving. It's creating liquidity. I can see it come lower. Silver. We called out silver yesterday. It did come into our area, right? And we did see a 1-to-1. So the way that I trade, guys, is very simple. I have a risk reward at 1-to-1. I always put my stop loss at break even, right? At 1-to-3, I'm either TPing or partialing, right? And I like more of swing trading. A lot of people have this perception of trading and thinking that trading you have to be on the markets every single day. But there's different levels of trading, and I like swing trading and position trading, which is entering a trade and letting it doing its thing. Because example, if you would have entered this trade on the minimum risk, you would at least be up right now $100. If you're risking, you would have risked $10 to make $100 on this trade. The same way you risk 10 to make 100 is the same way you make risk 100 to make 1,000. The only difference in this game and what really changes is the capital, right? The trading doesn't change, right? The same person that has $500 in their trade account and 5,000 in their trade account might be taking the same trade, but the person with the 5K might be making more money because they have more capital, right? The game of trading isn't by seeing it by the money, but by the percentages. Like I was saying earlier, this isn't a get rich quick. This is a get rich, right? A get rich for sure, right? But the way you do it, this is a next 5 or 10 year plan, right? Where we can slowly compound our income by making 20 to 25% a month, right? So guys, right now for me, I called this Bitcoin trade out for y'all. We have Nas. What I see Nas doing, it's interesting. Nas is chilling. It's interesting. I would want to see like a 5 minute BOS. And maybe we can come and liquidate these guys out. But I mean, bullish is still bullish. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Right. I would want to see like a break below the 5 minute. For me to look for sell. So like, I would want to see a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher high. Consolidation, break of structure, change of character. I would need to see a closure below here. For me to consider sells on NAS. US 30. I mean, it's doing her thing. Like, I can't really do much now. Just hate that I missed it. I have futures account, so I didn't get to take the whole advantage. Um, SPX, right? Same thing. We can start seeing it. Maybe buy off from here. Don't really know. Obviously the tariffs are gone. So, big thing for the US. Um, you know, I believe we're taking China 30% and we're getting 10% on tariffs. But pretty much the last play, and I'll explain this to y'all before I head out. Starbucks is about to close. I got you. Yeah. And it's this place. This is your consolidation, your break of structure, and your change of character, right? Very setup play. This is literally the step-by-step plays I always look, right? Basically what happened, we had liquidity right here, which is retail buyers, market pushed above to take out buyers, sellers on the upside, right? Then push down to take out buyers, and then we retrace to our 786.86 to continue going lower. I don't see anything right now on the market, to be honest with you. I focus on specific pairs, right? So I just don't see anything right now, but I will make sure if I see anything, I will send something in the market. But Jack, brother, I'm gonna pass it on to you. Take it away, bro. Let's run it.
Appreciate you, Gio.